Hi, welcome to Racehouse with me, Jolie.
And me, Darren Reeves.
It was the United States Grand Prix 2024. Some people call it COTA, Circuit of the Americas. Some people call it the Austin Grand Prix, but we know that we're stateside, and it was a glorious sunny day for a race. And I, I really enjoyed this one. There was so much going on in the front, in the middle, crash out as well. Darren, how did you feel about this race?
Well, it's like when you buy a ticket for your favourite gig and months before. I feel like we've been waiting months for Formula One to come back. A
Mm,
4 week autumn break. It's not like the summer break where we had 3 or 4 weeks off in August where everybody shuts down. There's no development, there's no anything. But with this, it's been 4 weeks of every team developing. And I've been getting really excited. And like last weekend, we were racing in the go-karts. And I think, is it Formula One? No, that's next weekend. I've been waiting and waiting and waiting. And to come into this weekend in COTA, and it's the US Grand Prix. That's what it's badged
that's the
as.
title. Yeah.
Correct. And to come in, the weather looked amazing. The track looks amazing. We're there going.
Mm,
There's 8 cars that could win this. Alongside, you think when Ocon won in Hungary, when you were there, Joe, there could be wild cards coming out.
mm.
Anything can happen in Formula One. And with our rookie Liam Lawson back, can we call him
Yeah.
can we call him a rookie anymore? There's so much to look forward to. We miss Daniel's smile, but we don't necessarily miss his results recently. So honestly, mate, I've just my brain has just been full of Formula One this weekend. I wish I was there, Joe,
Yeah.
actually experiencing it rather than just being in front of a television. But I honestly, mate, I'm not worried about anything else in my life for the last 3 days.
Well, we weren't there, and neither was Daniel Ricciardo. I mean, that was the big news that from the last race to this race. What was it, Singapore? That's it. He's kind of been dropped. He has been dropped, and Liam Lawson has taken that seat. And we called this. We spoke about this long time ago
Mm.
because Liam Lawson, when he came out and he really showed what he could do. Um, we were gagging to see more, and just
Yeah.
Daniel didn't hit it. He didn't perform, and there's a lot of pressure on these guys. But to think he's going to have a number two seat, or he would go to Mercedes or somewhere, no, out the question. Apparently, he's got some interest from other uh, what do you call them, formulas, perhaps,
Yeah.
different kind of series. But I don't know. That I think that's it for F1 for him. Um,
It
you know,
seems to have that feeling about it. Never say never. And of course, when he left McLaren, which didn't succeed as much, we never thought we'd see him come back with Red Bull, and we did as a reserve driver. Then in AlphaTauri and RB this season,
mm,
he's had a lot of chances. And
mm.
really never rediscovered that form that he had at Red Bull with Sebastian Vettel as his teammate. And, Daniel could have won a title in that Red Bull. But once Max had come to Red Bull, and it was quite clear that Max was something very, very special, and Daniel was only going to be the number two driver, he moved on, and he could see it and he could read it, which shows the intelligence of the guy. You know,
Mm.
but everywhere he's gone, it's never quite worked out. But we miss Daniel, but we're back in COTA, and the sprint weekend for me, Joe. Um,
Sprint.
I,
Mm.
I can't quite still make my mind up. You get 1 hour of FP1 to try and set those cars up that haven't been out for 4 weeks,
Mm.
and everybody was spinning at turn one in FP1 this week, and then suddenly they're in the sprint shootout, which is a shorter version of qualifying. And Max Verstappen came out on top, which I don't think any of us were expecting. The
No.
the McLarens were just a little bit off form. Russell qualified second and Norris third. The Ferraris were just sort of sitting there with the McLarens a bit further back. But what I would say is just a quick brief one on the sprint, Joe. Is my driver of the sprint was Carlos Sainz, who started fifth, has finished every sprint so far this season in fifth as well. But he made it up to second and passed Lando Norris on the last lap at turn one to take second in the sprint to Max. But Max looked dominant again, like it was back at the beginning of the season. And I have
Mm.
to say, I went into Sunday a little bit scared.
Yeah, Max does seem to be back on form. They've obviously worked really hard on the car over the past 3 weeks. Are you saying that the sprint race should be scrapped?
I am. My jury is still out with it. I love the idea of switching things up. Um, I think we see sprints in other formulas, but I think it could still be run slightly different because all it's doing is giving more points to the fastest cars and not sharing the wealth to create a really good championship.
Mm.
I love the idea of possibly doing a sprint where we do reverse grid or
Reverse
do
grid. I was
reverse
about
top
to say
or
that.
yeah
Yeah.
or reverse top 10. But the real question this weekend, Joe, is the news came out that the fastest lap point is going to be dropped for 2025. So really, the question is how can that become a rule change? It doesn't affect the sprint so much, but I think there's such emphasis on getting pole position and televised interest as well. We watch qualifying to find out who's going to get pole position. That point needs to go
I
to
love the
pole
fastest
position.
lap. I love that because even if someone's well in the lead, they'll pit and then they'll go out and absolutely gun it. And sometimes you get some really out there characters who are getting the fastest lap. How do they get the fastest lap on
But
those tires? You
But
know,
Ocon went out on soft tyres at the end yesterday because he had enough gap between him and the person behind him, like 25 seconds. So he went in, it didn't cost him anything, put soft tyres on, go and get the fastest lap to take it away from somebody. Ocon should get that point. He was the fastest person on the track. That's the point of it. So why should
yeah.
you only be in the top 10 to get it? Daniel Ricciardo got the fastest lap in Singapore. He should get the point. It doesn't make sense to only award it if you finish in the top 10. You're just giving more points to the championship leaders and not giving the points to the teams that need them and need the finance to move forward, like
Mm,
RB, like Williams, like Haas, like Alpine. It's not fair. So I think it needs to be tweaked, whatever. But I was
mm.
surprised to see it came out. So for me, the sprint shootout and the sprint dilute the qualifying. I forget who's qualified on pole. I've seen two qualifying sessions. Sprint
It's
shootout and then
confusing.
qualify. I just get a bit muddled, and I'm like, what am I watching here? The cars
Mm.
are all not set up right, so it does cause some confusion. Of some cars are set up better than others, and we could see that Red Bull got it right for this circuit for the shootout. Then they tweaked stuff, thinking we've not got it.
Mm.
Where was the pace on Sunday in the race for Max Verstappen?
Yeah, I know. And you saw that even at the start. I mean, the launch that Lando had was just incredible. But
Yep.
I don't know if he was allowed to come straight across. I think he came as far as he could. He couldn't really block Max. I think that's
What
would have been the legal move, perhaps. I don't know.
what I'm noticing currently, the rules state so there's something with Cota that we saw in Austria last year, where suddenly we're getting penalty after penalty after penalty for track limits. Now, I
Mm,
agree. If you go off track and set the fastest lap, that lap should be cancelled. You're still in your position wherever. But what we're seeing is 5-second penalties for anybody that gains an advantage going over track limits. And gaining that advantage is obviously making a pass. Okay. And yesterday, in the way we saw in Austria last year, the big news of the race. Obviously, we've not even mentioned Ferrari, Joe. We've not even mentioned the result of
no,
the race.
we're saving that.
We
Yeah.
are, we are. But the big news for me is we were seeing penalties for people getting black and white flags like Gasly and Sonoda,
Mm,
for going over track limits 3 times. The fourth time you get a black and white flag, and sorry, third time you get a black and white flag. Fourth infringement, you get a 5-second penalty. Um, it doesn't matter if you're catching people or trying to get away from people, I suppose. But the reality is, we saw um, George Russell first of all try and pass Bottas at turn 12, where he pushed in front and pushed Bottas out off the track, made the pass. So Russell didn't leave the track. Bottas had to be pushed off, which meant he went wide, which meant Russell got the place. Russell gets a 5-second penalty. Okay? But then at the same corner, turn 12, is where Lando caught Max through brilliant strategy of making his
mm,
first stint on the mediums last longer. He caught Max, who had older tyres. The car wasn't set up right. It didn't perform on the hard tyres anywhere near as what it did in the first stint or on the sprint. He did the move. He went outside, and Max just slingshotted it. He outbraked himself on the apex, which got him ahead. And the rules state it's the car into the apex at the front has the advantage. But Max knew he wasn't going to make the corner, so Max sent himself out off the track. He then, which in turn sent Lando avoiding an accident. But of course, Lando came out in front with momentum, gets a 5-second penalty for gaining advantage off the track. I agree you shouldn't make passes off the track, but Max, again, Max is so brilliant with the rules. He did it on turn 1, like you've just stated. He sent it down the inside, outbraked himself with every intention to send himself and Lando off track. What that did was gave the Ferraris the inside line. They knew it was going to happen. I know Leclerc knew he was going to get that inside line if he went wide at turn 1 and came out really tight, because they were going to leave a massive gap because Max was only going to do one thing. Max knows that he can slingshot it into a corner, outbrake himself, send the opponent off track as well as himself, and if the opponent passes him, they'll get a 5-second penalty.
It's a dirty tactic, I think. Yeah,
it is.
but
isn't
that
that
is
the brilliant? Isn't that the brilliance of knowing the rules to within an inch of their life, that Max knows he can do that in the way the rules are at the moment? And I think we're going to see changes come with the rules because of it, to basically state, yes, you can't pass off track, but you also can't send your... Max should have had a penalty at turn 1 for sending
There's no
Lando
space.
off
There's
the
no
track.
space for Lando
Correct.
there, and
Correct.
and that was the gamble that McLaren, had to face. I mean, really, Lando should have given that spot back, because he did overtake when it was off track, and McLaren gambled, and they said, "Well, look, stay on it, try and get that 5 second on it." I think he finished with 3.5 seconds
4.1
ahead.
is what it was.
Was it 4.1? I thought it was 3.5.
Max had traffic on the last lap.
So that's what they were banking on, and Lando nearly got away with it. We've seen that in the past. I think Lewis has done it in the past. Okay, I'm going to have this 5 second. I'm going to gun it now for the next couple of laps, see what I can do, get away from Max. It didn't quite work, and that relegated Lando down to 4th. But this is why Formula One is so incredible to watch, because you're not just watching cars go around a track, you're watching all this strategy combined with all the technical setups and strategies in the car, the modes and everything they have to use and perform all the time. I mean, and that car's getting faster and faster because the fuel is depleting as well. So near the end of the race, this thing is really, really fast. And sometimes you get the fastest lap times suddenly are happening near the end, because you've got a real beautiful car there with the weight to speed ratio is really in your favor. But again, look, it didn't work for Lando. I think it was kind of lost on the first lap, really. And who took advantage of that? The Ferraris. Leclerc was there hunting him down. Sainz was there as well. It was a great 1-2 for Ferrari. It's a great confidence boost. I felt so bad for Sainz, even though he got second, thinking, you're off to Williams next year, mate. like you're in that beautiful car, you just got a podium, and still you're fired. What is that about? But let's focus on Ferrari. Great performance.
Yeah. Sainz has done nothing wrong at all. He's in the situation where arguably the best driver in history of Formula One has the chance to be in a Ferrari, and Ferrari have a chance to have the best driver. So Sainz is just caught up in the middle of that, really. I think Sainz had an impeccable weekend. I think Leclerc drove really well, but took advantage of the situation. And I think if Sainz had gone into turn 2 ahead, he would have won that race. But I think that Ferrari is looking fantastic. And I think Ferrari are in the hunt for the Constructors' Championship as much as McLaren are and Red Bull.
Yeah, McLaren currently lead it. Not by much. I think it's about 40 points odd.
Exactly
and Ferrari really hunted it down. I think Leclerc as well is in 3rd place in the Drivers' Championship.
I haven't. Let me bring it up in front of me. Let's get the standings up.
That's my guess. I know Piastri is up there as well, because he's had some great results.
You're absolutely right. So Leclerc is only 22 points behind Norris for second. Now we know Norris is chasing the championship. Another big thing for me is Norris lost out 2 points to Max in the sprint. 2 points here nor there. He's dropping back again. But this rule where Norris passed Max, that Max forced him off track, Max created the situation, was a 6-point swing in the championship. So had Lando finished third and got the 15 points and Max 12 for fourth, Lando would have gained 3 points. But because they switched, Max gained the 3 points, which is a 6-point swing from 51 to 57 points, along with Lando having to give Piastri the win in, was it Austria? I'm losing track. No, it wasn't. Where was it? Lando.
Yeah, I know what you mean, but
you know
I
the
forget.
one. Yeah,
Yeah.
'cause I think it was Russell who won that one. But yeah, had to give him the win there. The fact that Oscar also, I think there was a fastest lap that was taken for something. There's a number of little places where McLaren, but they're saying, oh, well, Lando doesn't want to be gifted mate. How many championships did Michael Schumacher win because of teammates working on his side, the team working on his side?
Same as Lewis with Valtteri, I think.
I absolutely agree with you. The only year with Lewis didn't get that was, of course, when it was only him and Rosberg in the
Nico,
2016 championship. But come on, guys. This is another example of making the wrong decision. Lando should have given that place back straight away. No argument. Don't say, oh, well, they might not give the penalty. Oh, well, get 5 seconds in front. Come on, make a decision. Bang, decision making. There's no time.
Well,
there was
the decision. They did make a decision. They said that's that. But Lando,
but I think they faffed. I think they faffed and had no choice after about 2 laps.
They ran out of laps. I mean,
Yeah.
what was 3-4 laps in the end or something?
4 laps. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. Bad strategy. Look, still fourth, great, but it should have been better. They should have been first.
Correct. They were 22 seconds ahead of the rest of the field in Singapore, the last race. The teams have been catching up. Ferrari have done a phenomenal job. I think Red Bull actually have improved, but I don't think they got the best out of the car this weekend. But McLaren, I'm not seeing the improvement, and I'm not seeing the decision making.
No.
If McLaren lose this Constructors' Championship to Ferrari, it'll be their own fault. But from decision making, if Lando doesn't win the Drivers' Championship, it is because of McLaren's decision making again. And I love Zach Brown.
Well, yeah, but Zach Brown has been a potential to be lined up to replace Stefano Domenicali.
Is it? That's news to me. That's news.
Zach Brown, Toto, and Horner have all been, earmarked for the job because apparently Stefano's time is coming to an end. That's a rumor in the paddock.
Okay. So that's interesting. So this is the head of F1, isn't it? Is that right?
That's right.
Essentially working for Liberty Media.
So Chase Carey was
that's it.
The first one, and then Stefano took over.
Yeah, what was Ross Brawn then? Didn't Ross Brawn have some sort of involvement when Liberty first came in as well?
I think you're right. Yeah, he was. Yeah. He was a top guy. I mean, he's a legend, as everyone knows. But he did have some kind of. I think he was head of sport, or sporting or something.
There was something, wasn't there? But all these top team owners and managers, whatever you want to call them, team principals, that's the word. We mentioned Ross Brawn, we mentioned Stefano Domenicali, who both ran Ferrari. You got Jean Todt, who was the previous FIA president as well before Ben Sulayem.
And he ran Ferrari team with Schumacher, didn't he?
That's it. You're absolutely right. So
if you work for Ferrari, you're in.
I honestly, but obviously Fred Vasseur is only new at Ferrari. But interesting to think of Zach Brown. I hadn't considered it, and I didn't realise that Domenicali's tenure is possibly in question. So, a bit of breaking news for me there, Joe. Very interesting.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how that plays out.
It does make sense for one of those three to do it. Toto, been there, done it, got the T-shirt. What's he got to prove? I can see Toto doing it. Horner, there's question marks over Horner's future at Red Bull and even some integrity and everything else. Why did Adrian Newey leave Red Bull and everybody's having an exodus? Is his time in Red Bull up?
let's pause with that.
Yeah,
I'm
go
sorry,
on.
Red Bull is disintegrating. All
Yeah.
the engineers are getting poached. They're going to McLaren, they're going to Aston, they're going everywhere. Adrian Newey, obviously, the one of the greatest car designers of all time, if ever,
And
has now been poached by Aston Martin and has been crowing about it before he's even left
and
the team.
And
Uh,
Joe, we were in Monaco together on that yacht with Eddie Jordan, and I think that was when Eddie Jordan was actually negotiating the Aston Martin deal right that
well,
weekend.
we were sitting
We
next
were
to Andy, weren't we, from Aston
we were
Martin,
right.
and we're like,
Yeah,
they all knew what was going on, and we're like,
yeah,
so what's up?
yeah,
What's
mate.
new?
But
He
we
didn't say a
I
word.
was we were predicting it, weren't we? And we sensed something was going on. But the whole thing's intriguing, and like we said, this is what makes Formula One so brilliant. It's not just the action of scale electrics on cars going round; it's the politics. It's brilliant. Go on, mate.
Please, sir. I remember we had dinner with Andy on the yacht.
Hmm.
What's it? Stevens? Is it Andy Stevenson?
Andy, yes, yes.
Yeah, sporting director at Aston Martin. I remember sitting next to him, and then I said, I joked to him. I said, "Oh, maybe we can come do an interview with you." And they said he's. What did he say? He said he's off to do an interview, I think. I said, "Oh, okay, lovely. We go chat about where Adrian Newey is off to then." And he kind of smiled at me and walked off. Looking back now,
Yeah.
oh, he was trying to tell me.
Maybe he
He
was.
was trying to tell me. He says, Joe, that smile was actually meant, Joe, I can't tell you right now, but Adrian Newey's coming to Aston Martin. Keep it under your hat.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so thank you, Andy. You need to let it out of the bag there, pal. No, that's fun. Look, we've yet to see the impact of that. We've yet to see what Lewis is going to do at Ferrari. We've yet to see what Adrian's going to do over at Aston Martin. But already we've seen what rookies can do. Yes, it was a great and welcome return for Liam Lawson, who did really well. Got some points. Pinto as
Oh,
well.
mate.
Oh my God,
What?
16th to 10th on his debut race. Essentially, what is this?
Well, first of all, when Colapinto came in to replace Sargent, I said to you, "What's the chances of Colapinto scoring on his first? You know, with Sargent scoring 1 point in 2 seasons.
Yeah.
You know, Albon just completely controlling that team. We've seen Colapinto come in. He didn't score. He's finished 11th on his debut, so he was right there. He's
Oh,
now got
sorry, I thought it was 10th.
no, he in his debut he didn't, but he scored the following week. He's now got 5 points in what is, I think, 4 or 5 races.
Brilliant.
And he's first of all made Logan Sargent look stupid, and proved straight away he should have been in that car earlier.
Yeah.
Colapinto, I'd never even heard of him before the start of this season.
Mm.
I couldn't even say his name. I was trying to say other words. He's come in, he's made a brilliant mark. But yesterday, going from 16th to 10th, and just with whatever strategy he did, however he was driving that Williams car that was exactly the same car Sargent had, Albon, where's Albon? What it's all about Colapinto.
Yeah, it's very
And
strange.
Albon's a great driver, but for me, Albon's on 12 points. Colapinto's now on 5 for the season. What do you think? Do you reckon Colapinto can actually 3 or 4 more races, couple of points here, couple of points there? What do you think?
I think coming in the wake of seeing someone like Ricardo being given the boot, they know how cutthroat it is. They know they
Yeah,
have to earn and retain their seat. Even Liam Lawson had a stunning debut ages ago. He was put on the subs bench.
yeah,
They need to impress, and they are giving it so much. I hate the phrase 110% because it's mathematically impossible.
yeah,
However, they really have been doing more than is asked for them, and this is phenomenal. I mean, these drivers are exactly what we need, exactly what we've been crowing for on these
yeah.
podcasts, because these guys, they're like fighter pilots. Their reflexes are super super sharp. I mean, I don't know how old they are, but I mean, what, look at 18 to 20 years old.
Well,
you
I
know
know Ollie Behrman. Well, Ollie Behrman's only about 18, 19, isn't he?
Unbelievable.
And
Unbelievable.
yeah, they're really young, and you can't get much younger than that in the car. Who's there was one that was 17, turning 18. Antonelli, who's coming in for Mercedes. They
Antonetti
were trying to get
Mercedes,
him.
yeah.
They were trying to get him potentially in the car when he was 17. There was talk, but he's 18 anyway. It's brilliant. Lawson is there on 2 points after one race, and when you look at him replacing Ricardo, who's on 12 points, not being funny, we've still got 5 races left. Get in there and score 2 points on average a race. You're there with Ricardo. The teams are making the right decisions by bringing in Colapinto, bringing in Lawson, Behrman, who's come in and scored on both races, one for Ferrari in Saudi and one for Haas when Magnussen was given a one race ban. They're coming in and they're making the current. This is brilliant for Formula One, Joe.
It's a shake-up. Yeah.
I absolutely love it. And it's a shake-up for Alex Albon as well. It's a shake-up for Yuki Tsunoda. He was not happy. How has this happened?
No.
How has this happened? Why is my rookie teammate in front? How is this? Because the other dynamic at RB is they think, even though Perez has got a new 2-year deal, there is chatter about Mexico being Perez's last race, or at least announce his retirement for the end of the season on Perez's terms. It's only, again, rumours, but I think Tsunoda knows.
They said that last year. I remember this last year they said that.
Yes, but he wasn't performing last year either. Why did they give him that 2-year deal? What on earth is that financial
obviously some
decision
money.
all about?
There's some money somewhere. Well, he's paid
government.
for by the Mexican government. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's insane, isn't it? When you think about it, like, imagine having footballers like that. I mean, there probably is, but yeah, it's nuts. Well, I think the biggest story actually is Aston Martin, and I think they finished 17th, 18th, something like that. I mean, Alonso was just getting overtaken left, right, and centre. I mean, Liam Lawson,
it was shocking.
That was easy.
Yeah.
It was so shocking. What a terrible, terrible weekend for Aston Martin. They can't wait to get Adrian Newey over there, I'm sure. But what's happened? Abysmal, absolutely abysmal performance.
I'm just looking at it. Fernando was 13th and Stroll was 15th, and both of them lapped by the Ferrari, the leader. But they just had nothing in the pace. That
Nothing.
for me, what I don't understand, if we had regulation changes coming in at the start of 2025, I'd understand. But right now, every improvement goes into 2025's car because it's the same regulations. So I feel like they've almost given up. But they can't be in the factory working on the 2026 car until January the 1st or January the 2nd. They're not going to work on New Year's Day, are they? So I don't know what they're doing. Fernando is still finishing ahead of Stroll every time. I've not been a big advocate of Lance Stroll in his dad's team. I think that he takes up a place that there's other drivers out there.
Yeah.
That could be taking that place and proving themselves in the way that Colapinto, Lawson, and Behrman are given the chance to do. And Alonso, we all know he's one of the best drivers of all time and hasn't won as many championships as he possibly should have done. But it again was it's just circumstance for that reason. But his driving skill is unquestionably amazing. But he looks like he's giving up as well.
Yeah.
They are now quite clearly slower than Haas and the RB.
They've gone back from being a contender, resurgent contender, to being just a challenger brand.
Yep.
Well, not even a challenger. I mean, they're down lower tables. I mean, when Haas is outdoing you.
We saw at the start of 2023, Alonso in the Aston Martin was getting podium after podium after podium. And
Incredible.
we're just like, wow. They dropped off this time in the summer break, really, last year. Dropped off, went the wrong direction, undid the changes in the car, and actually did really well at the end of the season, the last 2 or 3 races. But you're right. It's so disappointing when we sort of have this. We love Aston Martin, Joe. We feel a little bit related to them. We've got a connection with them. I just don't know. Is it that they are now just waiting for Adrian Newey to get to work? Adrian starts work in February, so they haven't got him right now. They haven't got anything. it's almost like they're on holiday. They get to the end of the season. If I just look at the constructors' championship, do they have any challenges at all in the standings? And I don't think they do. Um, they they are 48 points ahead of Haas. Haas are not going to score 48 points to the
Mm.
now in 5 races. So there are no challenges. Aston Martin have 5th place in the championship. They're not going to get 4th. They're not going to get 6th. The season's over for them. So what they it's done and dusted. They're all on holiday. I can think that's the only reason, and they're waiting for January the 2nd to work on the 2026 car. They're waiting for Adrian Newey to come in February.
Well, we'll be waiting on that for the rest of the season, and we'll be waiting for the next race, which is Mexico next week.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens. Let's see if it's the big bow out for Sergio Perez. Let's see if the rookies can keep up the pace, and let's see what's going to happen in the top 3. We've got some really strong teams now, and it's not a clear-cut, victory, not a clear-cut decision who's going to be the world champion by the time we get to Abu Dhabi. So I know we're both looking forward to this. We can't wait for the next run of races. So do join us for that next time. We're on Apple, Spotify, and Twitch, and here on YouTube. We have merchandise available at racehouse.cc. And if you have any comments, questions, to get involved, send us a comment. Put a comment on here. Pop us a quick message, and we'll be happy to do that. Any shout outs before we go?
Well, I'm going to do one shout out, mate, and that is to my son Lucas's teammate, Hani Sadiq, who did a F4 test.
Hi, Hani.
Hani's 14, same age as Lucas, and he went and did an F4 test up at Donington and was doing speeds of well in excess of around 140, 150 miles an hour for the first time in an F4 car. So, Hani, well done on you, buddy. The experience of seeing these drivers, what I'm seeing in the karting world of junior Rotax and seeing my son moving up to senior Rotax now, and learning really how grassroots motorsport works, seeing the budgets of it all, Joe, they are scary. A three-day F4 test, we're looking at $6,000 for the 3 days. And
Wow.
he's off to do 3 more tests, Joe, this week, next week, and the week after, with a view to trying to race in the F4 season next year at the age of 15. I'm like, what? What is going on?
Incredible.
But listen, it's a massive learning curve for me. So I've learned lots about that this week and realised I do not have $24,000 to do a test, let alone a season in it, unless we can get these sponsors coming in left, right, and centre, Joe. So the shout out is to Hani Sadiq this week. And inspiring me and my son to move forward in motorsport and climb that ladder. So there we go.
Fantastic. Well done, Hani, and we'll follow that with interest, certainly. And as we do all the young carters out there. So we will see you next time on Racehouse. So from... I've forgotten how to finish this thing.
It's so good, Joe. It's so good.
Yeah, it's tradition, isn't it? It's tradition.
I love it. I love it.
Why do we have to be Morecambe and Wise or 2 Ronnies? Why do we have to do that? So it's goodbye. So it's goodbye from me, Joe Lee.
And it's goodbye from me, Darren Reeves.
Take care.